Good evening, good evening, good evening. Not Here we are. Well, it was going to be season two. The story continues. Well, it sort of is. Unfortunately, when I tried to record it, I don't know what happened. It didn't come out. Now it was completing Startup Zone and moving into Sleepless Suburbs. To briefly summarise, well, it turns out the mayor can't be trusted, as I have said all along. I made a few comments about politicians and Elon Musk and various other things, and then weirdly my video, I could see it on my X recorder, which is my the app I use to record videos, but it wouldn't show up. And it wouldn't let me upload it to YouTube, which seemed really weird. I mean, basically, what I said, Vinaya said, like, oh, yeah, you can trust me, I'm closing the case, blah, 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 we've caught whoever done it, blah, 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 blah. And clearly that isn't the case, and like I said all along, don't trust the politicians. And then I made a few comments about how, essentially, I mean, I obviously live in the UK, our politicians are corrupt. We nearly all know it. That's why there are so many strikes going on in the UK at the moment. We have like a ton of strikes. Nobody, because basically the rich have ripped us all off. We all know it. We can all see it. Corporate profits are through the roof. Weirdly, the media that is owned by the same corporations don't talk about it. Almost as if they're in league. Oh, what a shock. Anyway, and then I talked about how basically you shouldn't trust how we have this weird ingrained respect for the rich, and it's like, oh, well, they've earned it. And it's like, how many of them actually have? Most of them just inherited the money and then had somebody else invest it for them. This is the system we're living in. I briefly mentioned the Second Amendment, which is always something which is going to lose a ton of American listeners or viewers. Yeah, great, you've got the Second Amendment. Great, you can overthrow the government. Except, of course, that the government have like Abrams tanks and drones and planes and everything else, and you've got small arms. I'm sorry, it just isn't going to work. What is needed is organised labour and unions and everything else. An individual, a group of, basically a group of individuals going, oh yeah, we're going to. No, it's never going to happen. Come on, wake up. The system is broken. We all know it's broken. The UK is one of the wealthiest countries in the world, and we have food banks. People can't, people are working and still cannot afford food. That's not a system which is working. Anyway, there we are. So this, as I say, this was going to be a season 2 story continues video, but weirdly it disappeared when I tried to upload it because I mentioned names like Elon Musk and said how he is actually not this financial genius that he claimed to be. He is a man who inherited a ton of money. He managed to make a certain amount more money and then threw it all away on a vanity project because he's pathetic, and we shouldn't be looking up to these people. I don't know how many times the world can hear this. There's no human being is essentially the same genetically, whether they are rich or poor. There is no difference. There is nobody out there is a genius. You might be great at one thing, but you may be appalling at everything else. What we are a product of genetics and life experience combined, and we act as if people who have been given a huge advantage are in some way entitled to it. No, I'm sorry, they're not. They're not. We've all seen it. We've all seen rich people who don't deserve it. I went to university, and I went to quite a posh university, and I'm not posh at all. And it was full of children, teenagers, late teenagers, who had been coached through private school and they were idiots. I'm sorry, they were idiots. They had no concept of reality because they didn't need to. They're not. We need to stop this kowtowing respect, and every country seems to be doing it at the minute, or at least every right-wing country. we need to wake up, because otherwise the world is gone. We should not have food banks. We should not be constantly criticising the people at the bottom for the crimes of the people at the top. You know, it's this constant thing of, oh, well, yeah, benefits cheats. Oh, I saw a benefit cheat and he was stealing £1,000 a month. It's like, yeah, but there are rich people who are dodging taxes of billions a month. Wake up. Come on. Just, why does nobody ever... it drives me mad. I was reading a thing today about... it was on the BBC, and the BBC is supposedly neutral. And they were talking about inflation in the UK. And they managed to talk about inflation without once mentioning corporate profits or stock buybacks or dividends. I mean, that's like writing a history of England without using the letter E. I mean, come on. If corporations are making more money than they have ever made, and somehow they're still raising their prices and their workers' wages are still the same as they were, the system is broken. Anyway, there we are. That's my that's where are we at? Is that 5 minutes? No, 6.5 minutes on a soapbox. It's basically going to be a 7-minute soapbox rant. And as I say, I remain suspicious that when I tried to upload a video which mentioned a few key names and facts, weirdly it just disappeared. But it's quite possible that I was inept and incompetent, because that's also a thing I'm very good at. But anyway, never mind. There we are. That's my political rant. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. And in the meantime, it remains for me to say goodbye, good night, au revoir, and may death come swiftly to your enemies.